To me, it's the idea of like, what requires a lot? What requires you to put in a huge amount of work and effort in order to bring this person to life? That stuff is really exciting to me. Those kinds of characters where you go, I can't even imagine that the actor is not like that person. I can't even imagine that they don't look like that they don't talk like that. You know, all of that stuff that is really the bread and butter of a character actor is so exciting to me.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Sophie von Haselberg is an actor. She stars in the new movie Give Me Pity. I sat down with her at her home in New York City to talk about the work.
The very interesting thing about my experience both with this movie and with you is I did not know anything about this movie when I put it on. I knew nothing about you at all. And I like when I get movies, when they send me movies, I've made a pact with myself, I guess. I will watch everything that is sent to me until I want to shut it off. Mm-hmm. In other words, I will put it on.
You'll give it a fair shot.
I'll give it a fair shot.
Yeah.
But I turn off almost everything. So I think that was a beautiful way to watch this movie. Completely not knowing anything, not knowing anyone involved, didn't even look up the director. And I just saw Please Baby Please a couple months ago because I had Andrea Riseborough on.
I know, I saw that she
in
was
December.
Just on.
Yeah. So I didn't even make the connection, didn't even want, this is all fresh, didn't know anything about you. And I don't know if this is a compliment to you or not. I thought that this was your production. I thought that this is your
like creation,
your
sort
creation.
of.
And I think that is a giant compliment.
It's funny because on the one hand, it's a compliment, of course, to believe that I would have the creative spirit to put something like this on. And at the same time, I feel like it's this sort of, you know, double-sided compliment of, on the other hand, I feel like that would be such a sort of grandiose thing to do for oneself. You know, I'm going to spend all this money to make a movie that's just about me. It would be a little extreme. But yeah, no, it is not my idea. It's not my fantasy, anything. I mean, of course, it became very much my fantasy.
Right.
But
wait, let's start by telling me where you were in your creative life when this project came around.
I was sitting right there on that couch with my friend Nicole Delaney, who is a filmmaker and a writer and director and really fantastic. And we were probably sitting there November, December of 2019. And she said, oh, I got this random email from this director, Amanda Kramer. She mentioned that she had seen Yo-Yo, which is a short that Nicole and I had made together in 2015. She mentioned that she had seen Yo-Yo and she has this project and she's interested in you for it. Do you mind if I hook you guys up?
Let's pause. What is Yo-Yo? Why was Amanda Kramer, do you think, sparked something from that about you?
Yo-Yo was a short that Nicole and I had produced very shortly after we had both graduated from, she had graduated from film school and I had graduated from drama school. So, you know, we get out of these programs and you're like, wow, suddenly we have the tools to sort of make our own things. And so she wrote this short. It's about a girl, the world ends and this girl is still a virgin and she's on a quest to lose her virginity, but there's basically no one left on the planet. She runs into Martin Starr, who I don't know how we got him, but we were so lucky to get him. So she runs into this guy. He's like the only other person left and she believes that this is the sign that she is finally going to lose her virginity. But he sees things very differently.
Okay.
It premiered at Tribeca. Like, we had a really wonderful, wonderful run with it, but I certainly never thought that it would lead to something like this.
So there's nothing in that is Sissy St. at all?
Total opposite. It's like a girl in overalls.
Interesting.
Like going through batteries. Like the first scene, her vibrator dies and she's like trying to find batteries that still work after the world ended 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's very kind of rough. Aesthetically, it's so different. But Amanda, I think, has some sixth sense because I don't understand how she believed that I could do this.
Okay. So back on the couch. So then you get that.
So I'm with Nicole. She says that to me. I'm like, oh my God, yes, please. That sounds wonderful. Because I've never had a period in my career thus far, hope it's coming, where I'm working so much that something like that would just be, oh, that's so great. But I think to me, it felt like such a tremendous opportunity. And so I obviously grabbed the bull by the horns and was like, oh my God, yes, please, please, please. And so Amanda and I started talking and she sent me the script and that was sort of it. We were supposed to shoot in March of 2020. So between December and March, I had basically been working on this. I was like, this is crazy quick turnaround, but I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And then obviously, COVID happened.
Wow. So wait though, I don't, like you're saying she has a sixth sense, but there's so much of that has to be done in this part. This is such a tone. There's singing, you know what I mean? There's, I mean, how does she, dancing. It's a persona that captivates the entire film. I don't understand how Amanda could just be like, okay, this person's going to do this from just seeing that one little short film.
That's what I mean about the sixth sense.
That's crazy.
I truly feel like she plucked me out of the ether.
Yeah.
Like she just reached up her hand and was like, there's a name, Sophie von Haselberg, let's go for it.
Wow.
Because I had never sung in a film.
But you were a singer, right? I mean, you are a singer.
I sing, but that's never been my thing. Like growing up, I was not like the musical theater kid. I've always loved to sing, but I've always been really terrified by it, which I think a lot of actors are. It's just insanely naked and vulnerable. And so that was really never my trajectory. And so that was another part of this, was that when I knew that I had to sing, I was so excited to confront that fear and to really delve into that. This other thing that I know I am capable of doing, and yet I'm always sort of stopping myself from doing.
Right.
But yeah, she had never heard me sing. She had never seen me dance.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, So were you getting an impression in the script of what this final product was? Do you know what I mean? Were you understanding just how odd this was? And I mean the odd in a good way.
Yeah, it's funny you use the word odd, because most of my friends who are in the arts who have seen this totally get it. Don't think it's that wild or that weird.
Yeah.
But my friends who are not in the arts are like, so that was wild. That was quite a ride, huh?
Yeah.
And to me, I mean, I think that's actually part of why Amanda and I hopefully, continue to be wonderful collaborators, is because I think to both of us, we're like, sure, it's a little weird, but it's practically commercial. I think compared to some other things that we've probably both been involved with or seen or have loved, it feels like almost sort of, middle of the road. Yeah. I know obviously to most people it's not. But,
right. But it's interesting. Do you feel that way about Please Baby Please?
I do and I don't. I think
it's almost the same thing, right?
Yes.
You can see how some people would think that's really odd, and yet it's touching on so many nostalgic things.
Yes.
That touch on other things that we love, just like this. Give Me Pity.
Yes, it's through a prism.
That's a good way.
It's something familiar, but it's put through this other lens. The lens being Amanda's totally brilliant. Part of what I think is brilliant about Amanda's work is that she's able to draw on so many references without making you feel that if you don't know the references, you can't like the film.
Right.
I think for a lot of people, particularly my age, people who are younger, they've never seen a variety show like that. Yet I think the film can still speak to them. They can still love the aesthetic, even though they weren't sitting there in the 70s watching Cher play every part in West Side Story, which, if you haven't seen, well, you gotta watch it.
Yeah. So what were you doing from December to March before? How were you preparing?
I was spending a lot of time with the script. I was reading it and rereading it. Amanda and I were doing little Zoom rehearsals where I would have worked on one chunk of it and then I would do that for her. I was thinking a lot actually about her vocally. I was thinking a lot about where her voice lives, how it changes over the course of the film. But in all honesty, I don't think I would have been fully ready to shoot it that March, which is why I think my lucky stars that we ended up shooting it in April of 2021, because I certainly was not spending that whole year preparing, because I was so distraught by the fact that we hadn't gotten to shoot it that I, sort of ignored the project for many months. And then when I knew we were shooting again, I really threw myself back into it. But I spent a lot, it was really just time with the script and just so much time thinking about this woman and how she got to this place. And I did not study Stanislavski. I am not a method actor. That's has not been my path.
Let's talk for a second about you. I mean, you did go to school though, right?
I did, yeah.
Yes.
I went to Yale Drama.
And what were you studying there?
It's funny. So before your first year, they give you a reading list, and you read Meisner, you read Uta Hagen, you read Stanislavski, you read Strasberg, you read all of them. And then you get there and they're like, hey, so all of that stuff that you read, we're sort of doing some of that, but we're mostly not doing any of that.
That's actually smart. That's smart.
And I really think that different techniques work well for different people. I really, it's a funny thing where it's like, I think drama school was amazing, hopefully for most of the people who were there, but really it's like you take the pieces that work the best for you, and not everything works for everyone, right? Like doing chakra work is really great for some people and it doesn't do anything for other people.
Right.
Commedia, clown, all of those things. But I would say the main thing that we study there is super objectives. Just that sort of really basic, like if you at least know what you are going after in the arc of this play, in each scene of this play, in each relationship, you will have a good through line to follow. And I still use that, but I think more and more, it's part of what I felt that curriculum was missing for me, at least, was actual character work. And that's always been the stuff that I've been the most interested in, is how does this person walk? How do they speak? What are their rhythms? Where does their physicality originate from? All of that stuff we really didn't work on. And so I think in my work since graduating, I've thought a lot more about that. And so with Sissy, I was thinking a lot about, as I said, I started with the voice. Then I was thinking, about her physicality, how she lived in her body, how she came to live in this body. I thought a lot. I kind of, made up a whole past life for her, which is really, we don't work on that at Yale at all. And I think for some people that stuff is not helpful, but for me, it is.
And where did that realization come that was helpful? Do you know what I mean?
Just from experimenting, I think. Just from, you're given a piece of text and, okay, let me use the I. I'm given a piece of text and I'm working on it just from the super objective place. And I'm like, yeah, it works, but it doesn't feel deeply personal. Like it doesn't feel like it's hitting me from my gut. It feels like it's hitting me from my brain. And I think that was when I started really realizing like, oh, my imagination has to play a much bigger role than I've been allowing it to play. Because at its core, it's all imagination. And if you have enough of that imaginative life, then your body starts to believe the things that are actually happening to it while it's happening.
Yes. Yes.
And you don't have to sit there going, okay, this person said this to me, and with my super objective, okay, great, now I can respond. And our teacher, Evan Yanulis, she now is at Juilliard, or was, I'm not sure if she's still there, but she used to do this movement where she would hit her hips and bring her hands up like over her stomach and then throw. Like, you were sort of like, that is what's supposed to be happening. And that is what's supposed to be happening, is the person says something to you, it hits you in your gut, and you're throwing it back to them. You're throwing the ball back to them. But I think with a technique that we learned at Yale, it was very hard for me to have that experience because maybe there wasn't enough work on sort of the background of a character for me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And you almost like, if you build that out, then you can have that actually happen, but it's from the character, and it's a little different. It's a little more grounded in something, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just you behaving like a human being. It's you behaving
Yes.
as a specific human being.
Right.
Which I think is what we're all after in
Right.
some way or another.
So you're in despair then for those months, March through
April.
April.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
you must
a
have
year.
just thought, here is my big starring thing.
Yeah.
Where someone took a big chance.
Yeah.
And this thing hits. Like I was sitting there in March of 2020 thinking, I love this because I don't like to do things and I don't have to have any guilt. And I was thinking, there's somebody out there that just got a role.
Yeah.
I was literally thinking this, but it was mainly like a play or something. Like I was thinking like they just got their shot on Broadway.
Yeah, I had a friend who that also happened to. There was of course tremendous guilt wrapped up in even thinking about the fact that I wasn't getting to do this movie when in fact what was going on in the world was people were dying.
Right.
And so of course it's the whole thing. I mean, it's an existential crisis for humanity. It felt like an existential crisis for each of us personally. But I was of course constantly just trying to reframe like this movie is a drop in the bucket compared to a drop in the ocean compared to, of course, what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I couldn't even look at the script. I couldn't think about it. I put it away because I was like, if I actually allow myself to feel how distraught I will be if I don't get to work on this, I'll never get out of bed.
Right. Right.
So it was very distressing because, of course, it did feel like, oh, this is finally a moment of, wow, really getting to show what I feel I am capable of, and now I'm just watching it.
Yeah.
Sand falling through my hands.
Crazy. So when did things start to have hope again about filming?
Amanda and I stayed in loose but pretty consistent touch throughout that whole time, probably because I wouldn't leave her the fuck alone. So I kept on sort of checking in because I was so unwilling to let it go. And in fact, of course, it turned out that she was also unwilling to let it go. Mm-hmm. She's so relaxed and just wonderful, and at the same time, it's clearly incredibly determined. So we would stay in touch, and I would say, "Oh, what does it look like?" And she emailed me. I think it must have been maybe like December of 2020 or something, and was like, "We actually got more funding. We're able to hire more people. We're able to do it with all of the COVID requirements. It's looking like April. Are you free?" I was like, "Am I free?" Yes, I am. So
you were saying then that you needed this time, or you weren't ready, maybe. What happened in that time then that you felt ready?
Obviously, I had suddenly had that much more time with the script. I had had that much more time to think about this woman's life and get it in my body. And I had also had a year of working on singing. So that when I went into the studio to sing, and one of the songs we also did live during filming, but so that when that happened, my voice wasn't as tentative as I think maybe it would have been a year before. And I think, in that year, the drive to do this, I already, of course, had so much drive to do it, but in that year, it just became that much more ferocious. And so I think there was a certain fearlessness with which I was allowed to suddenly approach it. I think I'm like, I like a fearlessness. I think I'm pretty fearless when it comes to acting, knock on wood. But with something like this, you just don't know how it's gonna go. And particularly because it wasn't a team that I had ever worked with before. And so I think if we had shot it the year before, there would have just been a little bit more kind of, haha, okay, who are you people? What are we doing here? Yeah. But in that year, suddenly it was like, oh, fuck it. Let's just do this thing. Let's go.
Yeah.
Balls to the wall, or whatever terrible phrase you want to use.
Yeah. So the particular look of this person, how much did that play into your ability to get it in your body? You know what I mean? Are you that kind of person? Are you an outside in kind of person where once that stuff gets put on, you were able to snap in a way that you weren't before?
I think so. I think I'm inside out and outside in, and then I hope they meet in the middle.
Yeah.
This was so interesting because I did not understand what the aesthetic was going to be.
Oh.
I had
So wait, that's kind of not in the script in a way?
The lookbook, to the degree, the lookbook that Amanda gave me did not illustrate the degree of excess and insanity that we were going to, which was really interesting for me as an actor because, you know, I felt by the time I got to set, I was like, I know this woman.
Yeah.
I have her in my body.
Yeah.
I have her in my bones. Fuck yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And then we got to a hair and makeup trial or whatever you want to say. And I was like, oh my God, this is what they want me to look like.
Right.
And it was actually incredibly helpful.
Okay.
I was certainly resistant, and like, I am not a person who likes to be resistant in any way. I'm very game. I love being game. But I think
You build something.
Exactly. I had worked on Sissy to a degree that I was like, but she's mine now.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there were other people being like, yeah, but she's actually all of ours. And they're right, of course, right? It's like, we are all collaborating to make a Sissy. She's not just you. And so there was like, I remember there was an idea for what to do with my eyebrows. And I had this, which was like, they wanted to make them really huge, almost make like a merkin for your eyebrows. You know what I mean? Like a really, like a wig for your brows. And I was insistent that I was like, I don't want her to feel that she's being made fun of at the beginning.
Yeah.
Go as crazy as you want at the end.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, I think she has to feel that she has this together, that this is the greatest night of her life. And so I would say we all spoke a lot about each look and collaborated so that Amanda was getting what she wanted, but also so that I was able to have a say of like, if we do this in this scene, the way that I have kind of put it in my body, I don't think that that's necessarily going to work. And then there were times when Amanda, would say, no, I really think we got to do this. And it was really helpful.
Oh, interesting.
Because then there's also a thing of whatever insecurity I was feeling as an actor, I was able so much to put that into what was going on as her in the film of like, oh, I actually don't feel attractive right now. And I'm feeling a little like silly and taken advantage of, and which I don't mean at all that anybody on the film ever took advantage in any way. But, I think that was so helpful to then kind of go out there feeling a little bit ashamed.
Yeah. You used it.
Yes.
Basically.
And the hair and makeup, they were such a dream. I think they, and the costuming, I mean, everybody who worked on the aesthetics in this, like, they brought the film to a whole other place than it could have been if it was just obviously me sitting on a stool with my own hair.
Right. What was the hardest part of this production? I really want people to see this almost before they're hearing this, because
turn it on right now, guys.
You gotta watch. I mean, because it's like, you don't know what we're talking about here. Like, this is not a normal movie. It's not a normal thing that an actor has to do.
Yes.
And that's why this is so special. Like, this is not just, that's why we're talking, someone might be listening thinking, why are they talking about how hard this would be? It's just a role. It's not, though. It feels like you're carrying the whole.
Well, it's a monologue film,
it's
really.
It's basically a monologue film.
It basically is
It's basically a one-woman show, in a way.
Yes. Well, and part of what I would say is we shot it in 5 days.
What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. We shot it in 5 days.
There had to be like 4 cameras.
Yeah, there were 3 cameras, which was so genius. So that was part of why it was, I mean, this was the most fun I've ever had in my life. And I say that without question. Like, it was the most invigorating, exciting. I love to work hard, and this was, the epitome, the pinnacle of hard work. And it was just a fucking blast. And I think those 5 days, it was so concentrated, it was basically like shooting a live show.
Right.
And so because she had these 3 cameras, we would often do each take just once, maybe twice. I think we did maybe 1 or 2, 3 times.
Wow.
And that was it. So it was really, the whole set was alive with this energy of, oh, we're gonna get this done in 5 days.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, because we shot the whole thing on a soundstage, and the 3 cameras were set up the whole time.
But what about rehearsals? Did you have rehearsals for at least you?
So, I had dance rehearsals. I went out to LA 2 weeks earlier, 2 weeks before we started shooting. I had, I think, 3 dance rehearsals. We recorded the songs in an afternoon. And then, and I kept on saying to Amanda, I was like, I've trained in theater. Like, I really like rehearsal. And she's like, okay, we can rehearse whenever you want. So the Tuesday before we started shooting, I was like, okay, why don't you come over to the apartment where I'm staying and I'll do it for you. So she came over and she sat on the couch and I literally just performed the show for her. And she was like, okay, sounds good. Looks good. And that was our rehearsal.
Wow.
And of course, I forgot that, like, yes, in the year that had been leading up to the supposed March 2020 shoot date, we had like probably 6 or 7 Zoom rehearsals.
Right.
But then for a year, there was nothing.
Right.
And
Did she have adjustments for you in terms of tone?
No, when I say she was like, okay, that looks good.
That was insane.
But she just has this insane degree, I think, of trust in her actors.
Yeah.
And I also think, I would like to think that I had put in enough work on Sissy that she was like, cool, she's yours now.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
That she had all of the looks were up to her, and that she trusted me with all of the incredible material that she had written to bring it to life. And I don't think maybe that she had such a specific idea of, oh, well, I want that word to be said this way or that way, because in the script, actually, there were a lot of those kinds of line notes. But I didn't do a lot of them, and she never corrected that, right? Because I think she just trusted the work that I had put in, which was a tremendous gift.
Amazing. So when you get these takes over with, were you feeling like, when they said, okay, we're moving on, were you feeling like, wait, give me one more?
No.
Good. I was going to say, I want that answer to be no, because knowing this, I'm like, this, like, it was perfect.
Thank you.
So it's like, that's what's so shocking. That's why this whole thing just sounds like a freakish project.
It was a total freakish project, and often we would finish and Amanda would go, I'm good if you are. Like, I'm good to move on if you are. Yes. I think the only one that I asked to do one more of was the song Even Though, because I sang that one live. And I wanted to sing it live because I think it's sort of like the beginning of her denouement. There's a lot of questions of where the beginning of that is. I think it happens in many of the pieces. But that I wanted to do a couple more times because I think at the beginning I was a little bit tentative. It's intimidating to be singing in front of a room of people who are just completely silent, staring at you.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think we kind of felt each other's energies and we're like, yeah, all right, let's just move on. And I think I feel so lucky that I have that I trained in theater, because there is that feeling of, hey, whatever happened, leave it on the floor and let's keep going.
Yeah.
You don't get to go back and redo it. And so it felt enough like it was live theater that I didn't question whether I had done the best job or whether I had done the perfect job, et cetera, et cetera.
So when you get done with something like this, when something is this much of a virtuoso performance, that's the word. This is a virtuoso performance. Somebody like me is seeing you for the first time in such a gigantic virtuoso performance, right? And it's like, this is a star-making kind of thing. If I got to say what makes a star, you know what I mean? I don't know how the world is going to take this film, right? But regardless, this is a thing now where you can show what you can do by someone seeing this, right? But it also is such a gigantic kind of part that someone might be like, well, I can't put her in this little thing as a side character.
Interesting.
She would, right? Have you thought of that?
I do think of myself as a character actor. And I think of Sissy very much as a character
yes.
that is incredibly disparate from the person who I am. But I understand what you're saying about people seeing a film like that and going, oh, well, then that's the thing that she does. Is like almost, oh, she plays that character.
Right.
In the way that every diva has a persona.
Exactly.
It's like, that is not actually me. You know, I would love to be like an Andy Serkis, you know, playing like a Gollum or a, you know, like I think those kinds of roles that require a tremendous transformation are very exciting to me.
But having said that, what is it that you, though, dream about in terms of roles?
Oh, God. I mean, Sissy was an actual dream that I didn't realize I had, in the sense of, I don't think I ever would have allowed myself to dream that something like this would fall in my lap. I truly would not have allowed myself to fantasize that, because it would have felt too hubristic to believe that something like that would come my way. So certainly that would have been a dream that I couldn't admit to myself. I think anything that is really challenging and requires transformation is exciting to me. To me, it's the idea of like, what requires a lot? What requires you to put in a huge amount of work and effort in order to bring this person to life? That stuff is really exciting to me. And, you know, I also, sure, I love doing things that are closer to myself. That's always, you know, that's always fun. But I think in terms of really dreaming big, it's those kinds of characters where you go, I can't even imagine that the actor is not like that person. I can't even imagine that they don't look like that they don't talk like that. You know, all of that stuff that is really the bread and butter of a character actor is so exciting to me.
Yeah. Is the stage part of your dream?
Oh yeah, I love being on stage. I just finished a new play. I always wonder, like, what is the statute of limitations on saying I just finished? You know, it's like, if I finished it in late October, did I still just finish it? But I was working on a new play called What We Talk About When We Talk About Anne Frank, which is by this incredible writer, Nathan Englander.
Absolutely.
And it was such a joy to be back on stage and just working live in front of people. So certainly doing more theater would be a dream.
I didn't know they turned that into a play.
Yes, it's a new play and it's so fucking good.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
It was so exciting to be in the room with him while he was writing. And because he's a novelist, he's like, I work all the time. You know, I work by myself all the time. Finally, I have a bunch of collaborators. And, you know, it was like he was really writing on us, which was
cool.
Such a joy. I hope it transfers. I hope it transfers. But yeah, I just, mostly my dream is just to work more. You know, it's like to do things that require range, that require a lot of me, and just, to be working more. I don't know, isn't that every actor's dream until suddenly you're working all the time and then you're like, I fucking hate working. Which will never be me.
Sophie von Haselberg.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that this movie introduced me to you.
Thank you.
I want you to work more because I selfishly want to see you more. Okay? Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham, formerly IFP. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.